Hello, good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. I'd like to welcome everyone and call the meeting to order. We're just coming out of a retreat, which was from 4 to 7, so sorry for the delay walking over from the library. We're going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we're going to read the mission statement of the Wakefield Public Schools. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Is there anyone in the studio or online who would like to submit a public comment? There's no one in studio, and there's nobody online. Okay. Do we have a motion for consent agenda?
I do. Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the August 8th, 2023 school committee meeting and accept the minutes of the August 4th, 2023 school committee finance and facilities subcommittee meeting, the minutes of the August 7th, 2023 school committee student services subcommittee meeting, and the minutes of August 15th, 2023 school committee policy and communications subcommittee meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? There's no opposed. It's passed unanimously. Thank you. Dr. Lyons, Superintendent.
Thank you very much. Good evening. With the permission of the chair, I'd like to take my items out of order, and I'd like to start off by inviting Andrew Tetrault and Brandon Johnson to join us. They're here meeting with us via Zoom to give an update on the Algebra LEAP program. So at the end of the last meeting, there was a question about us just kind of reporting and getting some feedback. Andrew, can you hear us?
I catch you all. Can you hear me?
We can. You're on.
I have to use my phone for some reason. As Karamaro knows, my computer sound is just not working. So that's all right. Zoom has taught us to be flexible. So we're being flexible.
No worries. And Brandon, did you want to introduce yourself? Brandon?
Yes. Yes. Hi, I'm Brandon. I taught the Algebra LEAP summer program. And I do have a report prepared, if that would be helpful at this time.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for the invitation to talk about the Algebra LEAP summer program. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun to do. And big thanks to a lot of folks, especially Megan, Andrew, Lindsay, Aaron, Estelle, just to name a few. This is going to be about 7 minutes long, and then Andrew and I will be happy to take questions if there are any. Okay, so to start, let's take a step back. Galvin offers 2 levels of math in 8th grade, Math 8 and Algebra 1. To get into algebra, the standard path is to do well in Math 7, to be invited to Math 7 Extended, to do well there, and you're in. The standard path is good. It works. It makes sense. But we don't want to put a ceiling on advancement math opportunities. We want to broaden access without lowering standards. So how do you do that? The answer is you give more work. And how do you get the kids to do more work? We just have to ask them. And that's what the summer program does. Rising 8th graders can spend 3 weeks in July doing math, do well, and they qualify for algebra. And in addition, because more kids doing more high-level math is what we want, we also opened up the program to those already qualifying for algebra who wanted to stay sharp. The response was fantastic. 30 kids successfully completed the program, doing the work, passing the final. 11 of the 30 already had qualified for algebra and were there to stay sharp. 19 of the 30 made the leap, so to speak, and leveled up through the program. And by the way, 5 of the 19 worked remotely, zooming in from Boston, Cape Cod, even Ecuador every day, which is awesome. And overall, attendance was just really great. Kids kept showing up. Numbers were even bigger than in Seattle, where I helped run a similar program. So it shows that there really is an appetite for this in Wakefield. I mean, we were selling summer math to middle schoolers, and the only incentive is more and more difficult math in the months ahead in the fall if you're successful. I mean, it sounds like a really tough sell, right? But it works because Wakefield kids are awesome. They want to do well and they want their friends to do well too. It was great to see kids who already had qualified for the program keep showing up to be with and to help, to work with and to help their friends trying to make the leap. Okay, now the concerns. Some may be worried that broadening access to Galvin algebra will lead at least to an implicit pressure to lower standards. We get the concern, it's certainly a valid concern, and we are happy to report that we have several guardrails in place to protect the tradition of high standards in advanced math at Galvin. Here are the 3 main guardrails. Guardrail 1, just how the course is structured. In other districts, other states, some courses claim to teach algebra, while they're really just teaching pre-algebra, right? We've all read the articles, we do not do that. Galvin Algebra teaches every unit of high school IM Algebra 1 curriculum. There is overlap with Math 8 to be sure, and we go fast where we can, but we correctly put the fulcrum of the course on the post-middle school topics. A good way to judge the rigor of an algebra course is how it treats quadratics, the last and toughest Algebra 1 topic. Is it an afterthought or is it an emphasis? And here, quadratics is certainly an emphasis. We've scheduled about 30 class days for quadratics across 2 full units. That's about 20% of our pre-MCAS class time. The course is certainly structured to focus on the toughest algebra standards. Guardrail 2, I-ready diagnostics. We can make sure we are doing right by our top performers by monitoring student progress on the I-ready diagnostics, which we give 3 times per year. If we're doing things right, the number of our kids in the top percentile bands will increase during the year. For the 4 sections of Galvin Algebra last year, here's how we did from beginning of year to end of year. The number of kids in the national top 10% increased from 35 to 45. The number of kids in the national top 5% increased from 17 to 29. And the number of kids in the national top 1% increased from 6 to 13. So the course works for the whole class, including those already at or near the top. Algebra 1 is a great spot for our kids to just shine. So we're very happy to be able to add another section of Galvin Algebra this year, moving from 4 sections to 5. Guardrail 3, Wind Block. Wind Block is Galvin's revision of team time for the upcoming school year. I'm really excited about it. It is going to be great. If a group of kids does need extra help, we have an established structure to get them that help without any pressure to slow the larger algebra class. Okay, enough guardrails, now next steps. One reason I'm pretty nervous about speaking tonight is that it's way too early to declare any type of victory for the program. It was a good summer, yes, but we need to follow through by 1, keeping algebra strong and making it stronger, and 2, spreading the word and recruiting for the summers ahead. All right, just to conclude, I am obviously a big fan of this program. I think it's important. But really, it is just like in the grand scheme of things, it is just a small piece of the much larger work being done throughout the Galvin to broaden access to advanced math. I mean, it's just 3 weeks for a couple dozen kids in the summer for only 1 grade band. There is more critical work being done at every grade level throughout the building all year long. And Megan, Andrew, Lindsay, and the whole admin team really do a great job at making the Galvin a special place that kids want to be at, even during the summer, even doing that. So there's lots more to do for sure, but it really is great to say yes to kids who want more and better out of themselves in math during a critical middle school year. All right, that's all I got. We're happy to take questions, and you, of course, know where to find us if more information would be helpful down the line. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
Mine's less of a question, Brandon, just more of a statement. So I had heard from, first of all, I appreciate the update. I also appreciate you taking on this summer assignment of more math. Obviously, 30 students benefiting from your time speaks for itself. But I heard, and I know some other committee members heard this as well, from many families who had students in your class and just heard just amazing things about the experience they had. Some of them, I think, had maybe rough 7th grade math, and for them personally, and you really made a difference for their kids in the summer. So I just wanted to, on behalf of myself, just give my thanks that you made such a difference for many of those kids who spent their summer doing some math with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, just really quickly, that was a great report. I enjoyed listening to you. You remind me of a certain school committee member that's sitting here, not just or your use of awesome multiple times, but interesting. But anyways, but that was a great report. And math is so important. It's so critical, and to engage any number of students, particularly at that age, to want to do math, even if they were kind of strongly encouraged by others to do it, is really great. To use your word, it's really awesome. And your enthusiasm is really obvious, and I can see why it might really speak to students. And so I'm really curious to kind of see how, like you said, it's really early to know about any particular outcomes, but really, really interested in seeing how that evolves over time. And so this sounds like a great opportunity, one I think of many that are happening throughout the district, and like you said, even within your building. So many thanks to you, and for even coming in the summer to present to us. So thank you, that was great.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks.
Yeah, so thank you, Brandon. So to Kevin's point, I really appreciated your presentation. Love the delivery. I could totally sort of vibe with it. And then, so hearing from people, as Pete had said, I've heard from a number of families who found sort of the coursework, just had great things to say about it. Students that maybe had some struggles previously earlier in the year, and just they remain sort of engaged with the topic, with math. And now I see why. If sort of that's your delivery model, I get it. And to it.
If I could just say, it wasn't me. It's because the kids want to be with each other.
Yeah.
I remember I got an email from a student who had already qualified for the algebra program. He said, "Do I have to come in on the last day to take the final?" And I was like, "Well, I guess you don't really have to because you've already qualified for the program, and he's done fantastic." And I, of course, knew that he would do great on the final. So I said, "Great working with you." And then I sent that email out, and then 15 minutes later, he emailed me back. He said, "No, I'm coming in."
It's fantastic, and sort of when you say it's too early to know successes, I know in a measured sense that's accurate, but in terms of anecdotally, knowing that sort of you maybe reignited some fires, the passion that some kids have, sort of for numbers and for math. I think that speaks volumes, no matter how many kids, even if it was one kid, but it's, even just a couple dozen that's huge. So, when I would mess up like T-ball practice, I just kept one goal in my head, which would be just make sure they come back next week. Like that's it. That was just make sure they don't hate the sport. And I think in this sense, like you just keep them coming back for more. And so I think in that regard that this program is successful, and I hope sort of that it bears fruit. Sort of in the measured sense, and maybe even gets expanded, in years moving forward, maybe even in other areas. But thank you both for all of the work and the presentation.
Thanks, Stephen. Kevin?
I definitely want to reiterate what everyone said here tonight, that, just getting any student doing extra math, history, whatever, like in the summer, is just a win. Anecdotally, in terms of, but one thing that the committee is very interested in is seeing how the 7th grade extended math program is going to work compared to the model that we had before, right? And I'm sure you as a teacher are also interested in that, I assume. So do you think when we, as we go into 8th grade math this year, I think they take 3 already, right? It's like beginning, middle, and Yeah, so maybe by the second I ready, be able to kind of do a comparison, from like last year's cohort to this year's cohort. And would you say that'd be an interesting way to at least have a first glimpse that we have some data showing how well the program's doing?
I think it's more of an Andrew question.
All right, Andrew.
Well,
Yeah. So obviously, we're going to be able to. We now have a much more comprehensive way of figuring out where kids are at, and we can have the data from previous years and moving forward to see how we're doing. Yes, the anecdotal data that kids were doing math in the summer is valuable as well, and I would be surprised. I would be surprised if it obviously didn't translate into objective data as well that says like, yep, not only was it beneficial for the kids and their summer habits and routines, but also look at we've got the data to show as well. But we'll be able to show that and see that and really see where we're going with it. I also too, I don't. There's a couple of things, right? I don't want to take too much time, but as someone now who has had, which is weird to say, the history now, like being at this school for a long time and seeing what we've done in the past and where it was at and what the benchmarks we were using arbitrarily to put kids into algebra, and it was just a number. It was like, all right, where are we at? All right, let's pick 49 kids, and it was like, well, why not that 50th kid? Like, what are we doing? But now, especially with Brandon and just his willingness, I appreciate, at least from a philosophical standpoint, of just middle school and every kid having opportunity to find something that they want to do and love to do. And as I've got middle school kids now in the summer, it's trying to find camps and things to do, and we had 30 kids, 38th graders, that were like, I'd love if there was something for math in the summer. And it makes me think, like, man, how many kids were we missing maybe years ago that this would have been awesome for them, or an opportunity for them. And so I know Brandon said to the admin team, but like, super kudos back to him to just providing an opportunity for kids. And like you said, it wasn't necessarily hands on us, it is kids, and that's why we're doing this, and that's why we're in the business of school. It's all about them. And so, yes, that's a long-winded way of saying, like, yes, we're going to be able to track this, we'll be able to have the data to see it, and it'll be interesting to see what the outcomes are, but should it be none, like, which it won't be, I would love to still see this thing go next year as well, and even more kids catching on and catching fire to it. So, but let's not put the cart before the horse, right? I know.
Great, thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? No? Thank you very much for coming. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to say thank you. Just a great presentation. Really, really great. As we're thinking about welcoming students back, I'm just so excited to see you teaching in the fall.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
thank you both.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Andrew.
Don't stay too late. Come on.
Oh my goodness, he is. If there's a person that's made to work in middle school, it is Andrew. Oh my goodness, he is so much fun. Next, we'd like to invite Chief Scory and up to the table with Tim O'Brien to talk just a little bit about safety and the conversation that we started in the last meeting, just about the assessment that we did and from Chief's perspective, some of the new guidance that's coming down the pike from other chiefs in the state. Chief, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Tim, we appreciate it.
No problem, my pleasure.
So,
Thanks. So I just want to open by saying that Superintendent Lyons and I have a great line of communication. We talk all the time whenever there's an issue that comes up in the school. He feels free to call me, and I enjoy talking to him, and I don't always have answers. I try to give him best answer I have, but I think there are a lot of communities out there where police chiefs and school superintendents don't have the kind of relationship that that we do. And I think that's where it all starts, really, when you talk about a safe environment in schools, there has to be an open line of communication between police and schools. And I think we're one step ahead just by having that. We can talk about individual schools. We can talk about, in the town of Wakefield, we can talk about security measures. There is a report by the Mass Chiefs of Police that came out, and what it really did was it broke down security for schools in 5 layers. It broke it down by the district. It broke it down by each school property, parking lots, building exterior, and building interior. And there's a different perspective on each one and different measures that can be taken to really enhance school security. So I don't know if there's any particular area where you'd like to start or any particular questions that you have.
I think if you could just talk about, where you think we are in Wakefield in terms of as we're opening school, right? We're thinking about welcoming students back, getting teachers and students into the school, and based on this guidance, where you might think we are in terms of the work that we've started both with Ed Davis, which is why Tim is joining you tonight to be a partner in this. We've done an assessment, so we know that we need to improve in certain areas in terms of physical spaces. So that's kind of part. So the assessment is one of the things that's called out in the guidance from the police chiefs to do a third-party assessment. We've done that. We've gotten information back from that, and there are some recommendations there. We can share the executive summary briefly. We're not going to go into all of our strengths and weaknesses in regard to physical safety of buildings. That wouldn't be prudent in regard to making all of that public. But in terms of next steps and working with our SROs, one of the things that we were talking about is really creating an incident team and thinking about collaborating with you all based on physical security. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I think we're ahead of the game with school resource officers. We have full-time school resource officer in the middle school, full-time school resource officer at the high school. A lot of communities don't have that. And I think when the kids walk into school on day one and they see the visible presence of a police officer, it really has an impact on them. Now, keep in mind, they're not there to police the schools. They're there to establish relationships with the children. And when you establish a relationship with a student, and these are great communicators. They were chosen because they're great communicators. And when they establish these relationships, it establishes a relationship of trust. And trust goes a long way, because when the kids trust the school resource officers, they're willing to share information. And sharing information can be more valuable than a locked door or a security camera or a bollard in front of a building, because kids have a wealth of information. They're on their phones all the time. They're on social media. They're always talking, texting. Information is the key. So I think we're ahead of the game there. Our school resource officers, they're going to spend a little bit of time in the elementary schools this year. We're going to try and get them to move around the schools a little bit, so they won't be always at the high school or always at the middle school. We'd like to get them to see the younger kids, the kids that are really impacted the most by police. When they walk into the elementary schools, there's a little awe, like, wow, police are here, and they love it. So I'm going to try and get them out there a little bit. We could get into the weeds of security, but we could go on forever about that. I think there's some security measures that we have in place that I think are very good. Obviously, there's a couple of areas that we can improve on, but that's physical security, and of course that comes with finances. It's costly. As far as training goes, the police, fire, EMS, and schools have trained together. It really brought us all together, all on the same page, understand how each department functions, what we need to do to work together to be better. But the training is always constant. We always have to constantly train together because there's new faces. There's new faces in police, fire. There's new teachers all the time. One of the most important things that I find in the schools is the ALICE program. I think everybody here is familiar with ALICE. If we go back to before ALICE, we had just lockdowns, right? And anybody who's been through the ALICE training knows lockdown doesn't work. Is ALICE foolproof? No, but it's much better than just simply locking down. And having those constant ALICE trainings throughout the school year, it goes a long way, and I believe it's a lifesaver.
Thanks, Chief. The guidance in the Mass school security best practices guide that came out from the Mass Police Chiefs Association really kind of talks about the steps of drilling, and one of the areas we've drilled in the past. You know, the book recommends, or the guide recommends, 2 lockdown drills a year, and that's usually a sequential part for us. We will do kind of a shelter in place and move to a lockdown, or just go with a straight lockdown. Areas of growth for us as we're looking ahead. One is reunification, right, and communication. That's a big area of growth for us. The other is to kind of just think developmentally about evaluating the drills that we're doing, and having our drills observed, and to get third-party feedback. And so what that might look like in regard to scenarios is, if we're doing a lockdown drill at our preschool, is to have one of our SROs, maybe have a member of the Wakefield Police there, and a member of the fire department there, to give us real-time feedback, to get together and to debrief at the end, to step through what went well, what do we think were challenges. If we're going to be leaving the site, or if we're going to be moving to a reunification space, what does that look like? How does that work? And Alice is a dynamic drill, and we've talked about this. It's a decision-making drill. It's a decision-making drill on the part of teachers and people that are in the space real time. And that is it's kind of easy to discuss in the moment. When there is kind of an active situation happening, we know that the first thing to kind of deteriorate very quickly is communication. And without communication, decision-making is the very next thing that becomes very difficult for people to make. So a lot of this has to do with drills, teaching, and coaching. And so, 2 areas, again, for areas of growth for us as we move into the fall. One is doing 2 lockdown drills at every building every year. The other is getting real-time feedback in terms of how the drill went and how we can and make it more effective, right? And so when we started doing lockdown drills 15 years ago, they looked like controlled fire drills. And I think what we've learned from incidents that have happened around the country and incidents that have happened locally, that they, in real time, when something is happening, they look nothing like a fire drill, right? It looks very chaotic. The incident that we heard of last year at St. John's, it's still a point of conversation. Chief Scory led the first team into that building from Wakefield. So he drove from Wakefield to there, and he beat a number of police there, which is a point of interest. But there's, we learned a lot from him real time, and we're kind of thinking in this space and planning in this space. But we just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of engage school committee and answer whatever questions that we can for you, and also to invite, Tim heads up our crisis team, did some professional development this summer, and Chief is our first point of contact in regard to these drills and this work that we're doing. So happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Can I just make a comment about the incident in the spring? I did respond, and it's one of those things where when you hear it on the radio and you believe it's real, you just go. But it's a testament to the training of police, because when I got there were 100 police officers there already. And and by the time I left, there were probably 300. But when you bring that many police officers from different agencies together, and they move as one, that's a testament to training. Like, we train together, we understand. Tim and I could never may have never met each other. We're from 2 different departments, but we have the same training. We move together. So that's a testament to the police training. But what really stuck out to me the most was the kids and the teachers. You could tell that they had really trained and practiced Alice, because there were kids that locked themselves into classrooms, and they would not open the door for us. We knocked and knocked and knocked, and we stood in a little door window so they could see us. They still weren't opening that door. It took a lot of convincing. And you could see where other kids had abandoned their books, their computers. And was it chaotic? Yes. There were kids running everywhere, but they knew to stay together. And that all goes back to training. So yes, it looks like a controlled fire drill when you practice it, when it's fake. but when you believe it's real, you'd be surprised how kids come together and they follow what they've been trained to do. So to me, that was the most impressive thing. The kids reverted back to their training. We're adults. We train professionally. We always revert back to our training. But to see kids do it, that's a pretty powerful and amazing thing.
Thank you. Tom?
Thanks. So certainly, thank you, Chief, and Tim as well. But there were two things that struck me from your remarks tonight that I just wanted to both, to harken back and to really express appreciation as not just a school committee member, but more importantly as a parent. When you talked about partnership with the schools, and you talked about training. Those are certainly things that we, as educational leaders, have a huge value for, and the young people that we all serve. But the type of working our relationship that you spoke of is only going to make our work, as it gets more complicated, and it will. It's only gotten more complicated in the last 20 years. but partnership and the training really struck me, and it's a real pleasure to hear the type of things that you're sharing, and the type of things that the superintendent is speaking to, and the types of recommendations that are coming out of the evaluations that have been done, and the work that is yet to do. So I know. Thank you to you and your department for everything that is done by the men and women of the Wakefield Police. But it's pretty powerful stuff to make sure that parents feel there's a place of comfort and safety for their kids to go every day, and importantly, for staff to feel that there's a place of comfort and safety for them to go every day. So,
Thank you.
it's very important stuff. Thank you.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, and I agree, like training, is everything for both the police and teachers and students. And just going back to what Doug said about feedback, the last Alice drill that I was involved with as a teacher, the thing that was impressive about it wasn't just, how, we all decided whether to evacuate or stay in our rooms, and did what we're supposed to do with the drill. 10 minutes after the drill, we were being given feedback. Like, there were police on our floor giving us feedback, which was great. Like, there were literally teachers being given individual, okay, you did this, you should have done this. And just that, not only obviously hopefully makes us better in the future when we did another drill, or, and heaven forbid, like a real life situation, but it also honestly made us feel comfortable. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is like a real thing, and they're really caring and actually telling us what to do. So thank you for the work. It's great.
Thank you. And then you have to remember that we all have kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's important to us to know that the kids are safe in school.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? No? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Anytime,
Thanks
Doug.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm
So,
leaving you on your own now.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have much to add. I didn't want to leave Chief Story hanging up here by himself. So.
By the way, if Andrew or Brandon wants to take the police test, I like their enthusiasm. They're more than welcome. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, Chief.
oh my goodness.
There's some extra sandwiches and calzone in the room if you want a snack.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Chief. So just as a placeholder, just to let the school committee know and anyone that might be watching, areas of growth and things that are going to be future agenda items. We're going to talk about cybersecurity and an update of our district tech plan. And so that will be a November agenda item when we're finished a cyber assessment of that. And so more information to follow there. I just wanted to bring that up as a placeholder for a future agenda item. Tim has stayed at the table because we've added on the agenda just an update. In the last meeting, he talked about facilities. This meeting's going to talk about capital improvements.
I will be brief. I had a PowerPoint presentation somewhat prepared, but my children had other plans for me this afternoon, so it was not presentable at the time of my arrival here. So I apologize. I'll do better in the future. Just wanted to talk a little bit about our fiscal year 24 capital requests, how that all panned out. So we're just going to go over approvals and some of the projects that we're looking at in the coming year. We are looking at doing an electrical service upgrade at the Greenwood School that was approved. They're going to combine the funds that were approved for an initial electrical study in the previous year with an additional $15,000, totaling $40,000 for an electric service upgrade, which has been deemed necessary in order to provide air conditioning at Greenwood. So that work hasn't stalled. It's just, we're just working through it. And for the master electricians in the room, we are looking to upgrade to a 600 amp service there. So the plan is to upgrade the electrical and then move forward, request more capital to complete the air conditioning project. So we're on track. It's taken a little bit longer, but we're hopeful that in the next year we'll be reporting that we're going to continue that project and be bringing air conditioning to Greenwood School.
Is there, for the air conditioning component, is there any thought, like, can we do mini splits?
So that's what we're looking into, whether it's
Okay.
mini splits, whether we take a small section of a window in each classroom out and build in like a window unit in each classroom. We just have to find out what the most cost-effective way forward is and go from there. But I'll have more to report on that in the coming year.
Yeah, I'd be curious if there was an impact to the heating that we could sort of capitalize on.
Sure. Yeah, we will.
There'll likely be many splits.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Cool.
Moving on down to Doyle. So you'll remember last summer we put a new kitchen in Doyle. That has obviously drawn a lot more electricity than we were using previously. They are in need of an electrical service upgrade, which was approved at $30,000. So we're looking at ordering the materials and having that done. That's also going to be a 600 amp service to power all. There's a lot more equipment running in that building, and looking down the pipeline as well, as that building continues to be used more and more, and we're going to be looking at more air conditioning opportunities there as well. So that will definitely be a needed improvement to get us to the finish line on that, looking into the future. At Dahlberg, we were approved. We had initially asked for $220,000 for a new kindergarten playground and rubber surface. They approved $240,000 as the costs for these materials are rising. So we're possibly looking at starting that in the fall. We're not positive about that yet, but I'll have updates for you as I get them. It would be really nice to be able to get that done this fall, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see us do that in the spring.
Is that the same poured rubber surface?
Yes.
So temperature is a concern.
Absolutely.
For that?
So if
Okay.
we're able to do that early enough where we have, agreeing temperatures, we'll do that. If not, we'll go, maybe this summer once school is out. Could be a more appropriate time to do that. Moving down, at the Woodville, we had requested a new rooftop chiller unit. The unit that exists is original to the building. It is pretty antiquated and in need, sooner than later, needs to be replaced. We had initially asked for $210,000 to get that job done, and we were approved for $230,000, again, as costs have risen for the materials there. So that's something that makes me kind of breathe a sigh of relief when you have equipment that large, that old. My worry is that we're going to get into a hot summer day, lose the air conditioning, and have a lot of unhappy folks. And so we're excited to get that done. That's going to be a larger project, just based on the equipment that you need to get a unit of that size onto the roof of a building of that size. So we will be, we're looking at ordering that equipment already so that we'll have it and be able to get that done, hopefully as soon as school gets out this school year. Down to Galvin, we were approved for $40,000 for a new PRV, a pressure reducing valve just lowers the pressure coming into the building from the street, which helps us preserve some of our dishwashers and, you know, water-consuming appliances. Extends the life of those things. We do have about an average pressure in town near 90 psi, which is on the higher side, in which case by code you have to have the pressure reducing valve. So in a building of the size of the Galvin, that's a large valve, that's a large cost. So we're happy to be getting that work done. Hopefully that's going to take place during winter school break. So more to come on that. And that is the end. So it's not a long list of approved capital projects, but it's a significant funding. So we're looking at a total of $580,000 in capital funds this year, which is nearly double what we saw last year. So definitely a lot of work, you know, coming down the pipeline. I'm always excited about that. I love a project. So, and I'll continue to update you as soon as we have updates as the year continues on. And happy to take any questions anyone might have.
Go ahead.
That's a great list, Tim. In terms of the stuff that didn't get funded, is there anything that's super critical, or are the other things all things that we feel are okay waiting?
There's nothing that, you know, as far as things that did not get approved, there's nothing that leaves us stranded. So I think I'm comfortable with what we got approved, and certainly we're thankful to the capital committee, you know, and to the town for the funds and joining us to try and get these projects complete. There's nothing that I'm, you know, truly concerned about at this moment where I think, you know, we're going to be in any kind of trouble. And so we'll continue to, you know, once we get into capital season again this year, we'll you know, move some of these projects up in the priority list and continue to ask for funding to get those done. But we're in good shape.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
So did the Greenwood study get done and there was extra money, or didn't get done at all?
So it did not get done.
Okay.
As myself and Joe Conway from the DPW and our in-house electrician from the buildings department sort of discussed it, we were able to sort of make some of those decisions in-house in order to sort of preserve that money and make sure that it it was spent appropriately. I think that once our electrician kind of looked things over, he was able to assess it to a point where we didn't think it was necessary to bring an engineering firm into the mix, and which is why we were able to couple that money with some additional funding to get the work that needs to get done.
Okay, great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Does anyone else have any questions? No? You're welcome to hang out.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Good night.
Pleasure.
So just moving back up to the top of my items, you know, we are in the throes of the fall here. You know, athletics, all of our fall sports are back in play. You know, we have football, soccer, cross country, swimming, volleyball, golf, dance, cheer, and field hockey that are all happening real time. I'm really excited to welcome students back, the athletes back, and also the band and music students back. You know, band and music that we do in the camp that we run at the end of the summer is really just a heart-filling event to watch older students that have graduated. Some have graduated, some have not yet graduated, but some are off to college and they'll come back and they teach younger kids. And so it's older kids coming back to teach younger kids. It is just it's just amazing. It's great to see the older kids take that responsibility. It's great to see the younger kids look up to them and to also to aspire to be them, to be in those spaces. It's really quite heart-filling to watch. We did get a note, I got a text from Tom Bankert, who had said that if school committee wishes, that we are more than welcome to go up to Landrigan to see the marching band performing real time at the end of our meeting. They're going to be there until 9 p.m.
Nope, we get a goal.
And so that's, you know.
Talk faster.
I know. I always joke with Tom Bankert that, band and music are the only unregulated activities in the state because they work, they put in more hours than the athletes. And it's just a different activity, but it's just really great to watch. So kudos to them if you do have time and the opportunity to get up after the meeting. I know I will be heading up there just to check in and say hello. It's great. So that's what's going on in athletics and band. And Tom and Brendan will be invited to a school committee meeting in the fall. Also, just a highlight in regard to athletics. I know that Brendan is working with the high school administrative team to really think about how to engage the captains of the fall teams in different ways to think about how they might lead initiatives and really set the stage for work that's happening based on their leadership positions that are kind of presented to them and opportunities that are presented to them. Kara, can you talk a little bit about kindergarten and just kind of the Acceleration
Yep, we're
Academy?
in our second week of the Acceleration Academy. We started last week, and it's been going wonderful. We had 220 incoming kindergartners turn out for the program between the 2 weeks. So just an absolutely great turnout. Wonderful team of a lot of our kindergarten teachers are able to work the program, but other classroom teachers in town as well have filled the space if kindergarten teachers couldn't work. Paraprofessional support, nursing support, special ed teacher support. So it's a real group effort that's going really well. And we're
Thank
very
you so
excited.
much.
It was
Thank
nice to
you.
get those final numbers though, to have, 220 students. It's a big chunk of our incoming kindergarten class, so they'll have all had that just initial exposure to their school, to their teachers, and a lot less tears on day one that we've seen. That's our informal
From
data
the
the last
students.
2 years.
Parents will
Yeah.
That's our
Everybody
goal,
feels a
our goal
little
attainment
better.
space,
Yeah.
or how many
Yeah.
tiers we have.
Yeah.
Kara,
Is it a large kindergarten year? Is it a bubble year?
It's not a bubble year, but the numbers are pretty. They're not over any what we've experienced in the past, but they're more consistent, running about 23 per class. We do have a couple of 24s, but yeah, definitely between the 22 and 24 range across the board at all of our schools. But we haven't had enough enrollment to prompt a bubble class. Yeah. So we'll still have 4 classes at Dolbear, 4 at Woodville, and then 2 at Greenwood and Walton.
And so the 220 is 2/3?
Yeah, I think
That's great.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think it was like 270 was our. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do the math. Have Brandon come back.
Yeah. We're higher than we have been in years in the last few years.
Perfect.
And so we're not only looking at numbers, but we're also looking at needs of kids, right? Because often we're working in this space where you can have 3 students that can feel like 30 and 30 that can feel like 3 depending on their needs. And so we're really looking at numbers and grouping and really thinking about supports, which leads us to pre-K. And so our pre-K numbers are also very, very high, which is good. It's a good pipeline for us. And so last year, just for background information, last year we opened one pre-K class at Woodville as a pilot, and we said we would assess how this went. And the numbers are just so large, we are going to continue the pilot for a second year, but we're also opening a second classroom at Woodville for pre-K. And so that's happening real time as well. So there'll be more information to follow there. We'll have an update in the fall as students get in and they get going. But
Is it 2 4-year-old classrooms?
correct. And so just so that the committee knows, changes that we made in addition to the pilot is we've created age-based classrooms instead of mixed age classrooms. These are 4-year-olds that are going to be going into kindergarten. It has also been an opportunity for us to increase the integrity and continuity of the curriculum that's happening in that space to better meet the needs and prepare the students as they go from pre-K to K in that space. And Kara will talk more about that in one of our upcoming meetings. Metco update, and so
Quick question, Doug, before you
Yes,
move
sir.
on. Is the Woodville full after those 2 classrooms, or is there still more space? Or?
there's really no rooms at the end.
Well, so, I mean, you found 2 rooms.
We did. it's pretty full. Yeah. So we're using every room that we can, and we've kind of repurposed a number of rooms to make this happen at the Woodville. Yeah. Yes.
The increases that we're seeing in pre-K, is it population driven or needs driven?
Population.
Okay.
Well, I should say population and needs, but mostly population.
Okay.
Right. The needs are great. There's a greater range of needs at pre-K after COVID. So yes. Right. And so, just things that we'll be talking about in the future is space needs at Doyle and the possibility of getting a modular onto that campus for therapies that students may need on the Doyle campus. Because I don't think we're going to be able to continue with 2 classrooms at Woodville for example, the next 3 years. I just think the numbers are going to be too large. But that's a future agenda item. Any other questions in that space? So a quick update on Metco, as I'm sure you've all read in the newspaper, the state budget for the Metco office, Metco Inc., was level funded. It does affect us, in our district. Our numbers have increased a little bit. We're still kind of working with a few families to see if we can accommodate their students here in Wakefield. And we have a few students that were with us for a short period of time and have left and are thinking about coming back, which I think is promising. So we'll have more information about our Medco numbers from Glavia Smith as we move into the fall, right? Happy to answer any questions there. Other than that, just a very quick human resources update. We are, labor is ruling the roost right now. People are moving around a number of positions. They're moving vertically in the district. Our food service ranks, several people that have worked in food service are making the jump to paraeducator spaces, which is great. It's great opportunities for them. But that has kind of created a little bit of a ripple. So we're looking at hiring, I want to say 3 spaces in our food service ranks. We're looking at, I want to say 4 paras district-wide. And then we'll be fully staffed. And we have a few counselor positions that are open right now. We're trying to fill a nursing position. But with the exception of that, and with all the hiring that we've done in the last few days, I don't have a specific number on teachers. But I think we're fully staffed with teachers at this point.
I do too. Yeah.
And so I think we might have a few para openings, but we'll have hard numbers in the next meeting.
And the nurse is at what level? High school?
It's the nurse is at Galvin, is the open position. One of the nurses that was there took another position and has moved, and so we are looking to fill that position. So fortunately, we have a float nurse so we're working to figure out how best to make this work. So Christine is working with Rosie Galvin on this now. So, but that is a kind of an update in terms of a number of things that we're working on to open school. But we're excited, and I think we're ready to welcome people back. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Doug?
I'll ask my least favorite topic, which is COVID. So with numbers seeming to be increasing again, anything special, we're thinking of as we open school? I know we've kind of just gone back to the norm of pre-COVID, but kind of hasn't gone away. And I'm just curious, anything special we're doing, or we just kind of wait it out and see what happens?
Well, I think we're going to start off by trying to communicate with students and families as we open school. Tomorrow at noontime, we have a meeting with our lead nurse, Kelly Quayle, and that's the first order of business, is to talk about communication, right? Because we need to update parents around vaccinations. We need to update parents around the protocols if you test positive for COVID, right? And so, and there's an excellent graphic from the CDC that we think we're going to share with families, and we'll be sharing information and getting that out to families early next week. But thank you for asking. It's the exact topic that we're discussing right now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For chair comments, we had a retreat this evening from 4 to 7 We welcomed Dorothy Presser from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. We went over our protocols and norms, which we'll vote on at the next meeting. And we talked about goals for this year. We had a lovely dinner. And the other thing under Chair Comments is teacher negotiations, which will be covered when we do subcommittee reports. That's all I have. There are no budget items tonight?
No gifts.
No, and no gifts. So subcommittee reports. Finance and facilities, Tom?
We have not had a meeting since the last school committee meeting, but we're in the process of scheduling one prior to the first September meeting. So,
Thank you. Labor and personnel, Stephen?
Yep. So again, sort of to reiterate what Doug said, sort of just negotiations are sort of front and center. So we're just continuing to work towards closing out our contract with Unit A, and we're making good progress. So hopefully we'll close that out soon. I know I've been able to meet with some of the team for strategy, but I haven't been in person to make a few of the negotiation meetings. Were you at one, Kevin? Do you want to share anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm really grateful just personally that, we were able to continue to meet over the summer. I know that's not always the case, but I think both sides, are really engaged in the process and we're willing to take the time to meet over the summer. And I agree with what you said, Stephen. I think we made some really good progress. I think we have a few more details to kind of work out. Our next meeting is scheduled at the latter part of September, so we'll have a few weeks to continue to plan and to be ready for that meeting. But I think it's a great tenor. I think there's some really good news, and I envision, we'll have a successful contract to hopefully vote on sometime soon.
Thank you. Student Services, Eileen is not here this evening. The Student Services group hasn't met since their last meeting. They're scheduled to meet next week, so there'll be an update at the next school committee meeting. Policy and Communications, Kevin?
Yep, we talked about our cell phone policy, and basically we're deliberating about the enforcement of the policy. Dr. Lyons has applied for a grant to pilot a pouch program that we're going to be hearing about. We also, and yeah, so there's a lot of good discussion about cell phone policy and about the negative effects that cell phones can have on instruction. And also, we also talked a little bit about social media as well and negative effects. And we also talked about the health and wellness policy, that those revised state standards for our health and physical education frameworks. So Wakefield, we're going to be creating a new curriculum that's going to be aligned to the new frameworks. So we'll be talking about that as the year goes on. Our next meeting is not set yet. I think we have a little bit of a conflict with student services, so we've got to iron that out. But stay tuned for that.
Thank you.
That's it.
Does anyone have a liaison report? I know the Sustainability Committee did meet, but I was not able to attend because of Seussical the musical. So I will join next month's meeting, and I will have an update then. Future dates and agenda items. So our next school committee meeting is Tuesday, September 12th at 7. So one piece that came out of our retreat is that the school committee meetings will now start at 7. We will update the document online. And then agenda items. It sounds like Dr. Alliance has filled the fall schedule. So we're taking anything. Just anyone have anything for the next meeting or even an upcoming meeting? There's 2 meetings in September, 2 in October. Is anything someone would like to see? No? Okay. You have things, right?
Oh, we're packed.
We won't be meeting again before the start of school, which is Thursday, September 7th, right?
September 5th. Well, 7th for students.
Don't get my kids nervous.
My apologies. The first day for faculty and staff is Tuesday, September 5th. First day for students is Thursday, September 7th.
Yes. So we just want to wish everyone a successful first day, getting all the kids out on time. School committee comments. Does anyone have a closing comment? Oh, Kevin. Go.
Just kind of echo what you said. I mean, in education myself, our classes start next week. I can't believe the summer is already over. But just want to wish everyone well as we get started, and our staff and faculty re-engage, and particularly for new faculty and staff who are joining the district, just to welcome them and look forward to a really, really great year. I think there's a lot of really great stuff going on. I think that was an example earlier about the different programs, the kindergarten program that's been going on for a few years. I just think there's a lot of really positive things happening because of the work of the people here and the teachers and staff in the building. So just really grateful for that and looking forward to a great year. So just want to welcome everyone back.
Thank you, Kevin. I went to ask you, isn't there an orientation for new hires, or did that already happen?
Next week.
Oh, it's next week.
Yeah, so the 30th and the 31st, we'll be having our formal mentor program that's being, Liz Doucette takes a lead on planning that. She does a great job. She's been working with our curriculum coordinators and principals to schedule out kind of nuts and bolts stuff, and then some curriculum work, time with their mentors. So it should be a good 2 days.
How many do you have in attendance? Do you know the number about?
I know, we were looking at this the other day, Doug. I feel like I think we're hovering like close to 30. Is that too high? 30, 25,
I think we're
district-wide?
I think we're in the mid-20s.
Yeah.
Does that include, like, the food service workers that went over to Paris, or no? It's
No,
only.
this is just Unit A.
teachers.
Yeah,
Just
for the
new-
mentor for
Oh,
teachers.
just teachers.
This
staff.
induction is for
Just teachers.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
We
All
do
right.
have our, just another highlight from the last Unit C contract where we added an additional professional development day. So we have that happening on August 30th as well. A full day of professional development for paras in the district. So that's all mapped out too. So next week really starts to amp up with a lot going on.
I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut. If anyone else has it on this side of the table.
I would, so I like this time of year. One of my favorite things is when I can start to hear the marching band in my backyard, because we're up on the hill up there, and just the brass section carries, and so does the drum line, and so it's sort of you can literally feel it in the air. So I like this kind of season, and it doesn't hurt that my kids are both looking forward to sort of getting back to school, seeing friends, and sort of getting back to the things that they enjoy, whether that's reading or math or history or so it's exciting. So just welcome everybody back to the year, and hope everyone's as excited as my kids are. It'll start off well.
I know the teacher assignments came out for elementary. Just waiting on the Galvin. Did high school get teacher assignments too?
I know teacher schedules were made
They
available to
went out.
teachers, but I don't know about students. I would have to follow up. I'm not sure. Yeah.
High school
I
went out?
think so. Did.
Staff, faculty schedules went out.
Okay.
I don't believe student schedules went out yet. They're going out together.
That's when the kids start to get really excited. Who's in my class?
When they get their
and-
schedule, yeah.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
We do. Move that the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There's no opposed. It passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.